This document links to prior knowledge as well as functions and equations of the IB Maths course. It is particularly used for you on an Nspire computer algebra system handheld, or on the iPad with computer algebra system, or indeed on the computer software. And it's focusing on students' ability to figure out how to rearrange formulae. There are various commands that have been built in, and I'm going to demonstrate some of them in just a moment for swapping and checking sides of equations. So the instructions on each page would be first press enter and then make the following read as x equals. So I would just press enter, and to get this say x equals, all I would do at this point is I would press subtract 7. It automatically inserts the word INS for answer, and then I press enter and I get a statement saying x equals 9. If I want to check that, I can press the var key, and when I press the var key it pulls up the word check, and I can then press up and then enter to paste it in, and it says it does indeed agree that this equation has been solved for x. All it does is just checks to see if x is on its own. If we go to the next page, page 2.2, again, all I would simply type to solve this particular equation is I would press subtract and then 10. It automatically inserts the word answer. What I need to do first, and this is what your students will forget to do, is you'll have to press enter first to resubmit the equation. Now I'll do subtract 10, press enter, I get 2 equals x, but we normally write that so it's x equals 2, so I can press var, I can choose swap, I then press up and then enter again, and it swaps it around, and I can check that if I want. So if you like having the variable on the left hand side, there's a facility to quickly do it. Notice at each point the student is not retyping in the equation. The student is purely telling the computer algebra system what process is to be done with each equation. As we go on here, if I'm just going to do divide by 5. This time I didn't press enter first, so this is a sort of error message you might get. It doesn't know what the previous answer was. So what we have to do is press enter to re-execute the previous line of working, and then we press divide by 5 and everything is fine. So these first few pages are just getting a student totally happy with the process of rearranging, and they don't type in the equation, they just type in the process, be it add something to both sides, subtract, multiply, or divide. So the equations go on, and they were just simple linear equations, and then we go on to more sophisticated things when there are no letters around. So, sorry, no numbers around. So here, to get x on its own, we would subtract m and press enter. And again, if they're not sure if they've got it right, they can do the check command by pressing the var key, press up, enter, enter, and the equation has been rearranged for x. If I'd done that check procedure at the very beginning on the original equation, if I just go right up to the very beginning and paste that in, it says it's recognized that the equation has been rearranged not for x but for p, which was not the task which was required. So this purely detects which letter might be possibly on its own either side of the equation that it's on. So on page 3.3 things get a little bit more challenging, and the issue here is when we do subtract np, we don't just type np because it will get confused, because np is a single variable and you want to make sure you're subtracting n multiplied by p. So remember to press the multiplication sign, and we therefore get the rearranged equation in x. So again, these are just building up the students' comfort levels with manipulations. Here we've got things, again, x is on the wrong side. We might want to swap things around so the x is on the left hand side. That's an option. Or we can just multiply through by -1. When we multiply through by -1, we'll get something looking like that. We could then add on p times q and press enter. And again, we could swap things around if we wish. But if I want to just check to see if this has been correctly done, press it up and enter and paste it in, it has indeed rearranged it for x. So it doesn't matter which side the x is on. So this file continues, and the equations become a little bit more complex as we work our way through different forms of trying to get x as the subject. We'll soon get to the point where we have to start using the menu commands to expand out brackets. And so to do an example here, I could press menu, algebra, and expand, number 3. And if I expand that expression, I can get that one there. So different ways in which a student could start to use some of the inbuilt computer algebra system tools. Here they have to expand the brackets because the original thing has them already, or we can just go ahead and do a straight division. Dividing by -6 gets to there, add on A gets to there. Now this particular page, when we get to that point, that's one way of getting an answer, but it does say there are different ways of getting an answer, and can you go back and do it in a different order? So it's trying to always develop the student's skills at a pace which hopefully they've got comfortable with. This particular file takes several lessons for students to work their way through, and it always checks as well if they recognize what they've been doing, and there's a quiz page there. So you're strongly recommended to work this document through. It's been very carefully designed, and it starts bringing in the factorization command as well, which is definitely required when you get to more challenging questions like the one on page 3.23, where we have x's on both sides and then we have to factorize. We then have the issues of square roots turning up, and whether we can get plus and negative values to solutions involving quadratic terms, and it explains what absolute value terminology is. And when they get to the very end, they've not actually been writing a single thing down. They've done everything on the handheld. They've purely been typing in the processes that they've had to do and never typing in the actual answers. And the next page, page 3.41, suggests a way in which they could go about trying to develop these skills and wean themselves off a computer algebra system. Experience has shown that using this file with students and giving them time to work through things and giving them the opportunity to experiment and find out what works and what doesn't work gives them a very robust understanding of a computer algebra system's way of working, as well as a very good understanding of how to rearrange any formula they're given for any letter. They've constructed their own scaffolding, their own understanding. They haven't been given a set method, because very rarely does one set method work. This file is strongly commended to you. It is very, very effective. We're done.